ladies and gentlemen, Zack Sanchez, the wicked assassin, 1/5, sixth, I think 1/6 of Bravo 6.
Somewhere around there. There's a lot of members.
How was that, by the way, joining Bravo 6? Obviously, the original members was Lee Mercer, JT3 or Crazy J, and somebody else. And you joined a little bit later on. How did that actually start out? Like, how did that all come together?
So I remember during the time when it was during Mercer, he was helping out with somebody that had a company, right? And
Right.
for a fact that he asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and I replied with, yeah, sure, because I don't, with Mercer creating groups, they're memorable. Anybody that he teams with, they're always memorable. His most memorable one, I always would think, is Notorious.
Oh yeah,
So,
that was exactly who I had in my mind when you mentioned that.
yeah, exactly. So with him asking me to be a part of his faction, it meant a lot because for one, that means I've earned his trust, like that much trust that he wants to be working with me. And for two, it's very exciting because, of one of those reasons of, he's such a, how can I say this? He is he's one of the icons of what we do, and to have him as very close, being a best friend, I am very lucky to have him that close as a friend to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, you two have been pretty close for a while, it seems. And honestly, seeing you guys with Bravo 6 as well as JT3, Cream Parker, your wife Nicole, and of course Jade at times, you guys have all been you guys all have some sort of connection with each other in some way, and that's probably the best part about factions, is when it's a faction that's actually close personally instead of just being part of a group.
Yeah, I remember during the time, I mean, for Mercer to add Kareem, in my eyes, I no doubt, it was a no doubt that he was gonna add him in, because Kareem is actually one of those cool dudes to actually talk to and everything.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the most surprised one to me was Jade. I didn't think Jade was gonna be something to be added to, like something like this, because her character has always been a scary one. That's how she always has been known for. But for her to actually be a part of this is something quite unique, and I'm a big fan of her work. I truly believe that she is one of the most bright future stars of today. For the women's division and everything. There's also a lot of names I can put down the list too, but to have her a part of it is very something big, and I'm glad that she is part, to be with us.
Yeah, and and just to add on to that, seeing Jade grow to who she is now in such a short amount of time, with how much character is in almost all of her characters, especially Jade. Like being the more scary horror type of character, to joining Bravo 6 and showing a much more human side of her. And it's been really awesome seeing that. And I feel like there's a big reason why so many people latched onto her so quickly and started to love her. And that's exactly why, because she has one of the best characters that you could be able to see right now.
Yes, totally agree.
I feel like another big surprise though came at 99 Problems when your wife, out of character, your girlfriend Nicole Hale Sanchez, joined Bravo 6. Surprise everybody, because for one thing, this was at a time when she was Mercy exclusive, and the exclusivity basically went away at that time. Out of character, there really wasn't any exclusivity. It was basically her decision fully. And when it was kind of found out, like, oh yeah, like she's not actually exclusive, she made herself exclusive. And then joining alongside Bravo 6 and shocking everybody at 99 Problems, that must have been a shocker to a lot of people, but I feel like to you it probably wasn't that much of a surprise. It kind of felt like more, it's about time that it actually happened.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this out of, be flipping the narrative, to be more shocked with. No, she was originally gonna stay a Mercy Pro exclusive at first. Because Nicole, during her time, in COH, she felt like she did so much, right?
Well, pretty much did everything.
Yeah, pretty much. So for her, it was more of, I've already proven I can do this. I don't think I need to go anywhere else. And then when Mercer invited me over for Mercy Pro, I told her things about it. I told her what was going on, how the environment felt, and everything. And at first she felt like, all right, like she'll take on the challenge of being there. It took her some time to, like, we wanted her to be a part of Bravo 6 for a while. It took some convincing. I won't lie, but for her to join, it's a cool thing. I know a lot of people, and I will say this. Maybe there are a lot of people who would think, oh, I would think this because it's a giveaway. If Zack does anything, Nicole will be on it, and that's not what happens all the time. But I think right now is that her reason, to convince her to join, made a lot of sense, and I'm glad that he really took this into consideration to doing so, because there could be a lot of things, like, yeah, she has done it all in the past of where she was from, but maybe it's that time where she could do newer things with maybe younger talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why, in my opinion, I think it's a very cool moment. A lot of people may not see it that way. There's a lot that do. It's always half and half. Everybody has a flavor of their own.
Right. And to kind of go back to what you mentioned before with COH, that was when you and Nicole were first paired together, actually. And you two were, I can't remember if you were together as faces, but I do remember you were both together as heels, and especially when you had the big feud with Jordan Shadows. How was that? Like the feud itself, and obviously having that lead to Nicole turning heel and you both being together, being the big heel couple. How was that?
Okay, so truth be told, the feud, um, so it all started, of course, the Honor Cup. I think it was the Honor Cup, but it was for the mixed tag. Um, Anybody from there, you guys can correct me. That's fine. I remember there was a tournament that was coming up, and at the time, I really felt like, I need to, because I felt like I wasn't making good storyline. It's like I felt like I can do something about this, right?
You could do something more.
Yeah, something. And I was a cruiserweight during that time, so I felt like for the cruiserweights should get a big storyline too. So when Jordan was next for my belt, I thought, you know, why the hell not make a big twisting story about this? I
This
said,
was
hey,
when
what?
sorry for interrupting, by the way. This was when they had the cruiserweight championship and all that, right? Like the big
Yeah,
division and everything.
yeah.
All right, all right.
So I wanted to. So with the championship, I really wanted to make it big as possible. That's what me and Jordan wanted. So when I suggested the heel turn, a lot of people went fucking crazy for it. Like everybody, like at first people didn't understand it. Everybody was like, "Oh, he just flipped off Enigma in the beginning." That's what they thought about it at first, but that wasn't the case. So
It's the
when
little
I
details.
yeah, it's the little details. So when I finally did the promo the next week, right? A lot of people really loved it. Like when I said, when I was talking, I I can't remember fully of what I said, right?
Yeah, it has been a while since it happened.
Yes, but I do remember, right, that Nicole, when she did a promo, it was like her crying and trying to say to come back to her, right? Because I was gonna act like I was gonna leave her. And
Right.
then when I first said in that promo of acting like I was feeling sympathy, and then the moment that I say I think you're full of shit with a full attitude with a twist, oh my god, did a lot of
Everybody turned on you right at that moment.
right at that point. I think I even remember one time somebody said, "I'm gonna beat your ass because you're talking so much shit about her."
It's even crazier looking at the story and realizing like how close the three of you actually are.
Yes.
Because you guys are very close friends. Obviously, we know about you and Nate's relationship, but you, Nate, and Jordan, you guys are all very, very close friends.
Yes. And I think because of the chemistry, it's what made it crazier. Um, I'll admit this, right? Um, During the time, and I'm just going full disclosure on this. Nobody freak out. So I didn't have enough time. Like, let's let me just say this. I came back from vacation when I got the Summer Series arena. So it really, I'm gonna tell you this, like, it took nearly a week to come up with stuff, right? Of what I wanted to do.
Right.
So not everything could have been fully the way it should have been. It was a lot of people will say it felt rushed, and that's fine. I get that. I totally understand that. First half could have been so much longer, but the second half I felt like I tried to make it memorable as much as I could. And I remember at the time when Tora didn't have a story at the time thing going on, I had her as my bodyguard because I
I
thought,
I actually completely forgot about that part. Like nothing against Tora, by the way. I just completely forgot the fact that Tora was also involved in the storyline. I'm sorry about that.
no, you're completely fine. Yeah, she was involved as, as my bodyguard at the time. I'm like, I remember I went to Lexi for approval. I say, hey, would you mind if I let an intergender thing happen? Like during the 3 stages of steel. She liked the idea. She said, go for it, go ahead. So I thought it was very cool at the fact that I made Tora, Tora put Jordan through thumbtacks. And not only that,
Not
Jordan did
not just any
that.
thumbtacks, gigantic thumbtacks.
Yeah, I could have done better. I'll admit that. I could have done that better. I just didn't have enough time and.
Yeah, I was just
Oh
making a little joke out of it. Nothing
no.
super negative or anything.
Oh no, I get it. I get it. A lot of people, I think that was one of the things that people really critiqued, the huge thumbtacks, which
Yeah,
I
the
wish I
stuff like that happens. It's just a scaling sort of thing.
Oh
That,
yeah.
that's just kind
Just
of stuff you gotta figure out and all that.
oh yeah. I'm just glad though that, you know, Jordan cuz Jordan got to put Tora through a table. Me and Jordan had all of a match.
Yeah,
Now,
the match was still very good, and a lot of people are gonna remember the very, very end of it.
oh yes. Honestly, if the one thing that I can go back to, the one thing I would regret is that it went longer than it should. That was the feud, that is.
Gotcha.
Uh Summer Series should have been the ending point, but it did continue too long, which I'll agree to the fact of that. But
That
other
does
than
happen with some feeds at times. Like it feels like it should end at a certain point, but it pushes way too long, and it doesn't have the
Mhm.
same impact as it should have.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I would go back and correct on. But other than that, it was one of the biggest matches. Like I've been through a lot of matches. I fought Lions, I fought Tone, I fought Mercer. You know, but nothing could get as good as that story that I was a part of. And my my view of it was to help Jordan too, because I felt like he really needed something to spark too.
Yeah, and especially when it's your best friend. Usually, those are always going to be some of the best feuds. Is when it's a feud against your IRL best friend, because you know
Mhm.
each other, you know what to say, you know what not to say, you know what to kind of push towards that line, but not
Mhm.
actually step over it. Like those are always some of the best feuds where it kind of blurs the lines, but it doesn't overly go overboard or over the top where it's like, okay, that's way too much. It's just kind of like, should that be being said?
Right.
Is that allowed? And then it's just like, and then you guys are just sitting back eating popcorn, just enjoying the storm you created.
Right. We loved it. We loved the fact that everybody was really, like, a lot of people were into it, and I'm glad that that's something that we achieved at least.
Yeah, that's usually some of the best stuff is when you're actually able to get people invested or kind of just have them in the palm of your hands, like you know how they're going to react or you know how you can make them react to something. And again, not going overboard. That's the most important thing. And you guys did that awesomely.
Yeah.
I say awesomely. That definitely wasn't the word for it, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I get it. And let me tell you something. You may not know, you may forgot about this, but we made history. We were the first ever two cruiserweights to co-main event a COH pay-per-view.
I feel like that's something that wouldn't really be brought up that much, to be honest. So that is actually something really cool to note.
That was the first time ever that the cruiserweight title was co-main eventing, for the top, for the belt.
Right. Well, kind of going back way back actually. When you kind of first really got involved with community, because I feel like a lot of people, if you ask a lot of people like when's the first time they've seen you, obviously some people might mention COH, some people might mention Mercy Pro, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people will probably mention FAM and your match with Two Twisted Merc, where you ended up winning via roll up. Obviously we don't really have to talk about the actual match itself, but how did that actually feel like in that moment, getting to go into that matchup, work with 2TM and kind of build a bond with him that we'll get to that part later, but like actually like that moment, like how was that for you?
So just to put it in there, I know a lot of people will ask, where did I really start? My truest answer, it will always be WTX. That is where I always started. And I was there before any of the big talents were making it there.
That was before WTX like really took off as well.
Yes, it was way before WTX taking off. But to answer, that's the answer to everybody. Where did I really first start it? Because I know a lot of people mix it up sometimes. But to answer your question about the FAM thing, I remember, I was in class and I randomly got a message. I would say like on my last class, right? Got a very long paragraph message. And it was from the man himself, Cameron Bash. During that time, he told me that I was the review winner of the FAMI Awards. And he told me that, hey, I'm not going to remember the message because unfortunately, my old Twitter account, I lost everything on that. But I know that he told me saying, hey, you're the winner of the FAM review. I just need you to let me know when can you be there. And, we got a really good opponent for you for this one. And I'm going to let you know on a secret. You can't tell anybody else at that time. He told me I was going up against Two Twisted Merc. Boy, oh boy, did that ever made me so hype, because when I used to watch them, he was the dude for me. Like he was the number one guy. Basically, like, how you're a kid and the Undertaker was almost everybody's favorite as a kid.
Right.
He was like that for me. He was my Undertaker, but for FAM. So to have somebody like him, to fight is something pretty special now. Um, I remember that when Merc himself messaged me, he DM'd me that day. Um, he saw the video when I did it. He's enjoyed the takes that I've always had. He actually enjoyed things I've said about the place. And nobody knows this, but behind the scenes, he's the one. Well, I think somebody told him this. I know he said this when Sean Nova had a podcast during the time.
I actually completely forgot Nova had a podcast back then.
Yeah, Nova's and the Sean Nova podcast. I remember where somebody asked Merc a question about me, and Merc throughout that podcast said that I wanted him. He wanted me to win the match. He wanted me to win the match because if he were to lose, nothing bad is going to come from it. Because it's to promote during the time it was to promote Bash and 2TM's match.
Yeah, and obviously with how if people saw how the match went down and everything like that, it makes sense as well.
Yes, a lot of people I know a lot of people were pretty upset that that was a promotion match for 2TM and Bash, but I never saw it that way. I saw it as it was an opportunity, and I'm glad they let me take the opportunity. I'm glad that they put me over when, honest to God, they could have just treated me like a jobber. They could have just kicked my ass and say go home. No, they did what, thanks to Merc, he really let them put me over, and that is something I will always be thankful from him about doing that.
And it was definitely an awesome moment to see as well. But you did also mention your true start, and that's WTX. You mentioned how you were one of the very first people there before it even took off, and before any of the big names ended up joining or showing up. You were one of the very first ones, and we don't really need to talk about like how you joined and everything like that, because that's like obviously you were one of the very first ones.
Mm-hmm.
We just kind of briefly went over that, so there's no need to really go into full detail on that. But how does it feel to you seeing where it started to where it's grown to now, being a part of both EWTV and Rough Cut Network, being one of the premier companies that's been around for a very, very long time now? And like, how was that for you, basically getting to see it grow from a very small company to one of the premier feds to join now?
Oh man, it really meant a lot, as because I was younger at the time. So seeing I'm gonna tell you what, Payne is one of the hardest working motherfuckers I've ever seen that owns a need fed. Like, that's no shot to anybody.
Yeah, big shout out to Payne, by the way.
Yes, I've seen that man, from the struggles to now. He deserves everything that's coming to him. Everything, I mean. I remember when we were getting more people to come in, and I think that was during the time when I decided a little bit to step out to being exclusive for him. When I joined other companies, that's when a lot of people, I think, started to take eyes on it as well. And I'll say for him too, like when he started joining Honor Bound, etc. But my God, dude, I've never seen a company like his grow so much. And all I can say is that I am very proud of him for even when there's a lot of obstacles in his way, he will figure it out of how will he get through it. Will it be a delay? Sure. Will it There might be days where he'll say a lot where shows would be delayed, but he'll still work his ass off to be sure that you be entertained.
Oh yeah, I've met Payne in person, and he is just as hard of a worker outside of EFED as he is inside of EFED.
Yes.
You know, with all the stuff that he does in and out of the community, it's just unreal how he's able to handle it all.
Right.
Well, obviously, you've had plenty of memorable feuds across WTX, COH, even Mercy Pro, A2, all that. What would you say has been some of your most memorable ones? Obviously, we already talked about one of them being you and Jordan Shadows.
Right.
Are there any other ones that you might have?
Man, there are a lot.
You don't have to go through them all. You can list a few, unless you want to name them all. We got all day.
Okay, how about this? You name each company, and I'll try to remember each one. Memorable.
All right, just to get it out of the way. A2.
A2. Whew.
I know you didn't have that many feuds to begin with in A2, but then again, it has been one of the younger companies.
Right, it is one of the younger companies, but for A2 so far, CG so far, I'm working. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead. I'll get to what I had to say afterwards.
So with CG, because I worked with CG a lot, me and CG always believe that the matches we put are always good. Hence the old company that we were a part of. So to put a twist for him to turn heel and me being the face, I thought that would be the crazier thing that happened. Hence, during this feud, Breathe Again was born. But no, I think with CG, he's a really nice guy, and
oh yeah.
But that's like the only. Well, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say. I'll name two at least. CG and Mamba. Mamba is one of the two as well.
That high speed title feud was amazing.
Yeah, and I think during that time, when I joined, right? Because I've wanted to work with the young talent that I've never I never worked with, or two, I try to do what I can to spark them. And did I win? Yeah, but
it was back and forth.
It was very back and forth, and I appreciate how much he was caring for the feud, right?
Right.
And I appreciate that he was very dedicated on defending the title, and I as sure as hell appreciate the fight that he was putting up with it.
Yeah, he was the first and only high-speed champ at the time, and this was well before he even became Big Perk. Like, this is well before he just took off and joined Team Perk Angle, became Big Perk, became one of the premier stars in such a short amount of time. Like, this was when he was the iHeart, when he had so much to prove, when he was the first ever high-speed champ, and nobody thought he was going to hold on to it as long as he did. Like, this was when he was still one of the biggest rising stars in the company. And he put on classic after classic, and you were definitely no exception.
I'm just glad that, you know, some. I will say this, like, I am very happy for everybody else for what they are doing, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's always somebody's decision on how they want to get big. And that's completely fine. But with him, I'm glad because he's still young, and I'm glad that he's getting on everybody's good side instead of everybody's bad side. Because me and you both have known what it is to be on somebody's bad side.
Oh
And
yeah, it's been pretty. We've both had a very very long journey. We have people, like, we have good friends, and we've had people that, we've rubbed them the wrong way and all that sort of stuff.
right. But at the end of the day, Mamba, you're listening to this. I'm proud for the things that you've been doing. Keep doing great. I know the only thing I've seen, because I haven't been on Twitter. I know the last thing I saw you were on break. But either way, if you're listening to this, man, keep doing what you're doing. And
Yeah, I actually think he's out of break now.
oh, he's out of his break.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. I think it was only like a week or two.
Gotcha. Okay. Either way, keep doing what you're doing, man.
All right. So how about WTX?
Whew. I have to say pain. At the time, our feud, nobody, not a lot of people saw it, but our feud, like, it was crazy. I thought we were the best feud of his own company, of course. It's his own company, but still, like, we were going crazy. So, that's how the Wicked Kingdom was born too, on that day that we fought each other of WTX Storm. And it's gonna be one of my favorite ones growing up.
All right. COH. And
This
no, you can't say you and Jordan. Don't try and do that.
Okay. My favorite feud, man. That's tough because I was there for 4 freaking years, and then, oh, hmm, you know, I I have to say, if this wasn't a feud, but this was a more segment of partnering up. Um, I have to say, okay, feud wise, I have to say a little feud with me and Chris Aaron. That was very funny during the time of, I didn't know when I said when you listen to, motherfucker.
The most memorable, one of the most memorable things to come out of that feud was definitely that one moment.
Favorite moment? I have to say the favorite moment was when, I don't know if everybody will remember this, but this is one of my favorite moments. I'm about to fucking laugh right now because it's so funny. The one time I was whistling backstage, heading to my locker room. Ryan Swift, aka Ryad, thought that he was burning marshmallows, and he ended up burning my gear.
What?
On that same night, I was like, "What?" And it was a little bit, it was funny too because I remember when I Get Wicked all the time. A lot of people would meme it.
Oh my god. I know exactly what you're probably gonna bring up
A,
now.
a lot of people were always put I get naked and everything. So
Oh my.
I put a little bit to that line saying, "What am I supposed to wear? I can't get naked or anything." So he had that funny laughter of that. I got something really good for you and all that. I'm like,
So
why?
that's actually where it originated.
Yes. This was before I took my break too. But on that same night, I was wearing a legit like if it was like backup gear, but it was like Ryan Swift's gear, like everything, like the black and white type of pants he was wearing. I had to wear that, and for that, it was supposed to be my character's most embarrassing thing because because he's silly. I'm trying to be the serious one,
Yeah,
and
that was before he had the whole that was before when he had the whole Dabbing Aladdin gimmick, right?
no, this was during this Dabbing Aladdin gimmick.
No, I meant like beforehand when he had that. Like before he had the gimmick he has now. Like this was back when he had the Dabbing Aladdin gimmick.
Oh yes, you're correct. I'm sorry.
I probably just had poor wording right there.
Oh, you're all good. Yeah, I haven't been watching the product. I'm sorry. I got sorry guys, but either way, yeah, I don't know. It's just I haven't seen the product, but I'll see here and there what's been going on.
All right. Mercy Pro.
Ray Mercer. So far, we had a feud. I know, like we had a feud during the time in COH, but in Mercy Pro, we really wanted to make it better, and we wanted to bring up my exiled person into it, like the exile passed into the story, and it really did good for what it was. We main evented twice for pay-per-views. Unfortunately, his steel cage match went as fast as we never thought it would. So we wanted to try again at the Shooting Grounds pay-per-view in Philly. But I had to earn it back, which that's completely understandable, and
Right.
I'm glad that Mercer did that because I didn't want to seem like a favorite or anything. Like you have to earn it in order to win. If you want that shot again, which all right, that's fine.
Yeah, no free handouts, sir.
Oh, of course. That's what Mercy Pro is all about. But all I know is that during that time, I won my match against Tucker Ruth. I had one more chance against Ray and Lance, and it was a really good match too. And unfortunately, I lost. And the big one about it is that Ray didn't even think that he was gonna win the belt because at the time, because he's a booker too, right?
Right.
But he didn't think he was gonna win it. So that's about it.
All right. I feel like this was definitely going to be a topic that was going to be brought up at some point.
Okay.
And depending on who you are, like depending on who's listening right now, they're probably really anticipating this.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about Atlas. So,
Atlas. Okay.
So for those who have never seen it before, obviously Universal Wrestling is back, pretty much full force, and it's been awesome. Just had an awesome pay-per-view with MUA Alliance, Inception. If you guys haven't seen that, go and check it out. Before that, though, before it was Universal Wrestling, it was part of its own network, UWW Network, when we had Lush and also Atlas Wrestling. And this was before it was renamed to Universal Wrestling. I completely forgot what even or like Universal World Wrestling. Something like that. I'm trying to remember what I had it named, because
that was originally named Universal World Wrestling.
Right. It's crazy how I'm the one that forgets what it was called, because I'm the one that made it at first, and then it became you, like when it was both of us, and then just you, and yada yada yada. It started out with just Atlas Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Atlas X Generation, which was on Xbox, and then that's when you came in with Atlas Amplified. Obviously, you showed up on Atlas before you took ownership of one of the shows, but then you came in, took over for the PlayStation side with Amplified, because there was a lot of people on the PlayStation side that wanted to join that wasn't able to, because back then there was no cross-platform.
No, there was not any cross-platform at the time.
Yeah. And obviously, that was where we had our first ever feud. And that's actually, and I'm sure some people may not know this. That was actually where Ultimate Night the first ever Ultimate Night happened. That was the first ever show before it ended up becoming an independent event for EWTV.
Right.
But when you took over with Amplified, like a lot of different stuff happened, and then it just became you, and it just became Nay that took full control of UWW, and I'm trying to fully remember the timeline. I don't know if that was when you changed it to re-amplified, or
okay, so I'll go on with the story. So when Amplified was a PlayStation thing, I'll tell you what, I did not expect it to go the way it did.
Yeah, it became super popular.
Very popular at the time. More people would join, more people wanted to. I was very surprised on how it went, and the pay-per-views were always freaking good. That was the thing about it. I started off, like everybody else, started off with struggles. I played music throughout my headphones. And then I started learning this feature called Share Factory at the PlayStation. And I was able to import music into it. So there you go. Music, we're a bit advanced a little bit.
Already got better than X Generation because of Share Factory, because Xbox DVR, nope. Upload Studio, nope. Screw all that.
But what I do know is that it really got popular, crazily popular, and I was very shocked by that.
And that's actually where, like, some people, that's actually where a lot of people may have first seen guys like Tyson Brooks. That's where Tyson Brooks basically started with Amplified.
A lot of people started with us. They may not say it, but I sure as hell know that. Like, I'll give you some names right now. Some of them, you guys are probably going to be like, oh my god, I missed that dude. And some of them, they're doing other better things, and some of them are just not here anymore. Like, for an example, Tyson, first one, Tyson, he joined.
Yeah, Yeah, those two were probably the biggest ones that I remember was Tyson Brooks and Ryan Matrix. I do remember a few other people. I just don't want to mention them.
That's good. I mean that's fine. But um who else? Dude, we had Justin Harris a part of EFENing. Like, I know he's on R-Pro from what I heard, I believe.
I actually completely forgot Justin Harris was part of it.
Yeah, and you know who Justin Harris was feuding with when he was a part of Amplified? Nate West. That's where Nate started doing EFENing with us. Same with Sarah, Savin.
Oh my god. I actually completely forgot that's also where I first saw Sarah.
Mm-hmm. And you know who else I even say too? He might not say it, but I know I will. Jordan Brooks started with us too.
There's a whole lot of people that, like, it's crazy looking back at it and then realizing, oh my god, this is actually where they started. Like, this is who was in it. Like back then, they were practically like, oh, who's this guy? I've never heard of him before. Now, like, at least most of the names, you'll be all like, oh yeah, like he's one of the big guys in R-Pro, or he's one of the big guys in COH, or he's one of the big Mercy Pro guys, or yeah, he runs with this group, or he runs with that group. Like,
right.
Big names now.
Oh, yes.
And just a few years back, they were practically nobodies.
Mm-hmm.
And they made themselves into who they are now.
Oh, yes. And that was the thing with UWW at the time. I wanted to use the platform for people who never got the opportunities. I know a lot of people, like, they're into the sports entertainment thing. No, this is not sports entertainment versus wrestling, guys. I don't want anybody thinking of that, but no, like, when I took over of it, I genuinely wanted newer people to have opportunities that they've never gotten before. It was kind of like a, how can I say this? I don't want to call it a developmental system, but it kind of was, and if you kind of think about it. But
it was like the younger brand compared to X Generation, but at the same time, it honestly wasn't really treated as that. We were just trying to make like two different brands, one for Xbox, one for PlayStation. Like, you might say it was that. I personally never saw Amplified as a developmental. I just saw it as it's the second brand for people who are not on Xbox.
Yeah.
I guess you could probably say a secondary brand, because Xbox was the main. That was the main console. That was the main brand that we were on. That's where we had all the different championships on. And, yeah.
Yeah.
but Amplified became such a big juggernaut of a brand that it, like, once you took over, there was no more X Generation. It was just Amplified, and then later on it was re-amplified.
Yes. I'll first say this, like, during my nights during the summer, because I believe that's when I took over during the summer, I would stay up late until 3 o'clock in the morning to be sure that everything is done on time. And there was one time I accidentally uploaded part 2 of the pay-per-view public. So I was like, whatever, screw it. Let's just release the whole damn thing.
Yeah, you just put it all out early.
Yeah, special early date for everybody. Everybody wins, But yeah, like, when Reamplified became a thing, I basically when I made that as a pay per view, when I brought it back again around 2K20, um, I brought it back around 2K20, and it was the pay per view was made as for a huge thank you to the people of Amplified, to those that were a part of it, to make it as big as it, was. And I can guarantee you that that was not an only one and done pay per view. Like, I'm guaranteeing you that there will be more re-amplified pay per views.
And and obviously, when you ended up having that big return, because I actually just checked out the Universal Wrestling Twitter page again. It's at Universal W2K, by the way, if you guys want to follow it. UWW One Night Stand.
Oh man.
that was like a big, massive return pay-per-view.
It went nuts. I really wanted to make it different on this one. I kind of wanted it to be the first. At the time, I really wanted that show to be the first E-Fed, but with highlight reel. I let the AI do whatever it wants, but I was doing camera angle after camera angle after camera angle, and that is one of the most things I will regret ever doing, because holy shit, I had to stop record, and not only that, I had to delete a lot of stuff because it was putting a lot of storage up, and I'm like, holy shit, man. So yeah, it was one of the big pay-per-views, and I remember at the time I said to people, I said, if you really want a main event, here you go, do whatever you can to promote yourself, right?
Right.
So that's, I tried giving I tried giving people chances and stuff. I know a lot of people felt like it was unfair that uh Lozano and Star, because they were doing the most out of everybody. They felt it was unfair, but they did deserve it because they made that story so good, dude. At the time, they really did a good job with that.
Right.
And everything else, for some people, it was goodbye. For example, Tyler Payne was a part of that show. I did not think that he was going to come in and ask for that. He wanted to be a part of it. Man, it's just a lot. I know Danny Harris was a part of it. Connor was a part of it. Tyson. It was just a lot. It
Tower
was
Payne.
yeah, and honestly, like, he was one of the cool people, man. And seeing, I know, I was very happy that Anthony wanted to do one. I know he wanted to do one last match with me, and that was his last one in EFED, I believe.
Yeah, that
And
was before he became sim exclusive, essentially.
yeah, and I was very happy I took part of that. And there's a lot of, I won't lie, man, there's a lot of people that I miss, and I wish some of them. Honestly, I wish some of them were here that we can talk to, but some of them moved on and they've lived better lives,
Yeah, there was a lot of. It's crazy looking back at Atlas, UWW, like looking back at the past and seeing how many big names were actually a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, I'm gonna be totally honest right now. I look back at it and I'm thinking there's a lot of things I personally could have done a lot better when I was helping out with it and in charge of it and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, there's a lot of things that I can look back on with very, very fond memories.
I could say the same thing too. Honestly, there's a lot of things. I think what people don't understand now, we were very young. We were very hungry, to get to a spot, but we were very immature at the time. And I think for some people, we, I still to this day, I'll even admit it at times. I've, I've matured, but there's sometimes I'll be petty for no reason, and it's just
Yeah.
not out of, it's not out of being an asshole or anything like that. It's just sometimes the way I am. Do I have to work on it? Sure, that's still one of the things I need to get out of. But I felt like I've matured so much and seen so much things already happen in this community, sorry. Um that what should I do and what should I don't do? Who should I hang out with? Who wouldn't I hang out with? And I think that's what sometimes people need to understand, that we're out of school now, and we've seen how adult life actually lives now. And I think for us, I've matured enough to understand on some point of views. Like, there's times that I got mad at a kid, and then Nicole Nay would tell me, "Hey, you gotta relax. Though he's a kid," and I would think, you know what? Yeah, he is. I remember I was just like this kid. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's I think people need to motivate or to understand a little bit more.
Well, I'm trying to think of what else to ask right now. Well, I think I could probably figure out some other stuff. But well, actually, let's talk about the return of it. With the
Okay.
return of UWW, now just known as Universal Wrestling.
Mhm.
How did all that get put together?
So one day I was going. Actually, there was a day that in a booking meeting, me, the Mercer brothers, Andre, and I don't think Nay was there at the time, but I remember we had a whole discussion. Um, Out of nowhere, Liam brings up, you should bring back Universal, UWW. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was very skeptical at the time, because I felt like if I brought it back just to put it on hold again, I felt like if I were to announce this, more people are gonna get let down than be happy, because there were so many freaking times, man, that I had to put it on hold, and everybody had belts to defend, and then they couldn't do it because of issues that were going on for me. Like, my computer was just not working at the time anymore. Everything was just going through a shithole. And I was like, I don't know. I'll think about it. I would say like 3 weeks later, because I really thought long and hard about it on my way to work. I know Mercer also, he I'm gonna tell you this. Nobody, when you really are close friends with Mercer, just because his voice is very intimidating, because we all know it is, the guy is the nicest guy you can ever meet. And you'd be so lucky to be close with him. Because when I got close with him, it was during the pandemic. He he didn't have to, but he offered to stream it. He said, "I'll do the streaming. You don't have to worry about that until you find out, about everything and it gets to your feet. I'll do it." I was so shocked because I didn't think I deserve a friend like him as well. So when he allowed this to happen, I was so happy. And what changed the name for Universal World Wrestling, I thought it was now time to, like, it's gonna be the same, but I thought, we both thought that maybe by rebranding it to a new name, it will attract a lot of attention. It's time for a brand new chapter, and it's to a point that we wanted to really make it seem like it's a brand new era too, because as much as I brought, as much as I agreed to bringing it back, he's somewhat a little bit of the owner of it, most likely. Let's say, for an example, Vince McMahon, right?
Right.
You see how Vince McMahon brought back ECW, but under the WWE name?
Yeah, so you kind of see it as that. It's like it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a full company. It's kind of just like it's part of the MUA alliance. It's alongside Mercy Pro.
Yes.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's kind of a second brand, but at the same time, not really.
Yes.
And
Like,
at the same time, like you mentioned, having like a new era and all that, it also seems like at the same time you're kind of paying homage to the past a bit. Like bringing back the Lush Women's Championship, the Lush division as a whole.
yep.
So still holding on to the history of it, but at the same time having new people, showcasing new talent, and also having some old returning people as well. But for the most part, brand new faces, brand new shows, whole new era, whole new year.
Yep.
Like this is it's the same Universal Wrestling that people have come to know and love, and at the same time it's a new one to help bring in a whole new audience.
Yes, and the booking is still the same as ever with helping the talent. Like, for an example, right? Tyler Jones, from what he said, right? He was booked one time for a world championship, and I believe he was in a smaller company. Tyler Jones has never, and I mean never, gotten a huge opportunity in his career. I said, I told Mercer, I said, you know what? Let's put Tyler Jones into that fatal 4-way eliminator because, for the hell of it, I really wanted somebody to feel like they were going to get an opportunity at least. And then when he won it, it was the most unexpected win. Not only that it was the most unexpected win, he was the underdog. And you saw, and let's be honest, I don't know if you were awake, maybe you weren't, but
shut up.
but listen, that reaction when he became the number one contender, everybody was so happy for him. And that's something I've always wanted to accomplish for people. Have an opportunity that they've never gotten before. Push new stars that never got the opportunity. Yeah, some of the people that you see are familiar faces and they have won world titles before, but I'm so glad that he is one of those guys that is a prime example of that. So I'm glad that I'm glad that he had a chance. I'm glad everything is coming into play with rosters and how everybody, again, everybody's having an opportunity. We did a different way of setting up a world title match instead of doing the same old tournament. Like, was proud one time. Like, I'm proud that we did the Rumble, right? And whoever the final two were, they were gonna guarantee the main event spot for the world title match. So that's one of the biggest things I'm very proud of when it comes to Universal and Mercy Pro, basically the MUA. I hope we continue this for a very long time, and we do whatever we can to make sure that people have fun. That is the most common goal that me and Mercer have, making sure people have fun.
All right, last question regarding Universal Wrestling, because I know we've been talking about this for probably a majority of the podcast now. If you bring back one thing from the old Universal Wrestling, whether it was during Atlas and Lush or UWW, like, what's one thing you would want to bring back from that time to now?
My main goal right now, that's funny because I am trying to bring one thing back, and one of those shows. Like, are we talking about shows, or are we talking about like
just like
titles?
in general, like if it's a title, a show, a big idea that happened, or anything of that sort?
Well, I can't spoil too much, but what I do know is that the one thing that I want to bring back for a show to finish up, I want to bring back Battle Cry, because that was supposed to be the big show before the shutdown again. And with this show, with that show, I want to make it like a debt that I owe to a lot of people.
Just bringing back something that never actually happened.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, I definitely feel like that would be pretty cool to, like, kind of bring some closure to something that was supposed to happen, but because of multiple issues and delays, never actually got to see the light of day.
Right.
I think that would be pretty cool.
Right. And everybody, and I at least, for people to have closure with that, I released the intro, and I believe that intro was one of the most hardworking intros I've ever worked ever.
You just wish you had the actual show to help back it up.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've been talking about this for quite a while, so let's move on to something else. Let's move on to some fan questions. And, well, not really fan questions, but just questions in general. There wasn't really that many, sadly, but there was one that I probably should have mentioned beforehand, but I forgot that this was asked. Back to UNCG in A2. Before we actually get to the question, which it's just, would you ever want to face CG again? But you two worked together at first as Taijitsu.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really good tag team. Didn't necessarily have the wins to fully back it up, but you guys were still a very popular team in Axis last year. You got very over, even despite the losses. People were still supporting you guys. People were still rooting for you guys. How was that, getting to team alongside CG? And he did ask as well, would you ever want to face him at least one more time again?
So, to answer about the Taijitsu, to answer how that became a thing, I came to him because I thought that would be a very good move to do, and I thought it was one of those things that people would actually like.
Right.
I'm glad that people actually did like it, despite of the losses.
Right.
But would I want to face him again? Of course, I will want to face him a million times because he's freaking good, man. The matches are always great. What can I say? Like, of course I will face CP. I will face you 100 times, 1,000 times, a million times, a billion times. I will keep going until whenever we freaking get old and say, okay, time for us to retire.
You guys are basically gonna be Cena and Orton.
Basically.
Just gonna keep on fighting until it annoys the hell out of everybody. And even then, you're still gonna keep doing it because who gives a damn? If I can be honest though, and this is kind of just going behind the scenes a little bit about the whole thing. There is a little regret that I had with the team, and that was honestly turning CG heel. Because you did mention how, like, CG's a very nice guy. He's great. I feel like he only works as a face. Because when I turned him heel, like, it was definitely a big shocker to a lot of people. But I feel like the feud itself didn't really fully back up the turn. Because it felt kind of more one-sided, not like in hyping up the promo. Like, you guys did an awesome job at building up to it. The match itself, though, didn't really pay off as much as I'm sure a lot of us wanted it to.
Yeah, and I feel bad for that. Honestly, that's one of the few matches I didn't think that we were going to go fast for. So, again,
yeah, but again, like, I also feel like it's just like CG works a lot better as a face.
I mean, roles are turned now.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, CG, he was out for a little while, and then he came back, and it's like, hey, yeah, he's a good guy again.
Yep.
Because it's just like, we can't really have him come back as a heel because he's just too nice. And that is not an insult at all. That's nothing negative. Like, I'm not saying any of this in a negative light whatsoever. I just personally felt like CG worked a million times better as a babyface. Because he can get those cheers. He can get people behind him. People love him. There's almost virtually no reason to have turned him heel, other than the shock factor at the time.
Right.
And it worked. It definitely worked. It just probably shouldn't have actually happened.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, I would honestly want to see a Taiji 2 reunion one day.
Who knows? Who knows? Whatever happens down the line, I'm not one to determine that. But
yeah,
it's probably 6. Watch your back for life. So,
well, Cody Sykes asks, "What's an achievement that you are striving to achieve?"
So what am I trying to achieve right now? Basically,
yeah, I guess like something that you haven't accomplished yet that you're hoping to accomplish.
There's a lot that I'm hoping to accomplish. Like, man, like,
and that's kind of surprising hearing you say that too, because you've done a lot over the last few years.
I know, and you would think that I'd be done, but there's just something. I don't know. There's just always something in me that I feel like, man, I still got more stuff to do.
I mean, that's usually a pretty good thought process to have. Like, hey, yeah, I did this. That's awesome, but I could do more.
Well, here's one thing. I'm gonna like say this, and I know a lot of people will be shocked by this, but The one thing I really strive to, I really would want to do before anything, I really, and of course, like I know a lot of people say, well, wouldn't didn't you want to put over young talent and everything? I'm like, yeah, but I, for one, I would love, and I'm not a I'm not a world title go getter, as much as I was back then. But all I know is that I want one last world title run and make it as good as I possibly can. Because if I do get that one, that really good run, and whoever who defeats me during the time, I know that from there, I feel like I've accomplished everything. And not only that, that'll have me, I mean, I'll try to compete here and there, but like I feel like for me, that's where my end will nearly begin.
And also with what you mentioned before, you don't want it to be handed to you. Like you want to earn it. You basically want to like build yourself up to it, and then when it finally happens, when it inevitably happens, you'll be able to look back at it and say, I earned that. I
Yeah.
worked my ass off for it.
And the unfortunate, the unfortunate thing of having titles, when I had the COH world title and then going after the what title during the time that it was alive.
Fuck that company, by the way.
What happened?
No, I had to say fuck that company, by the way. not COH, not COH. The other company. The other company has not been mentioned. Please do not misinterpret that.
But at the time, like, I really do felt like it was handed to me. And I at the time, a lot of people will say it was just handed to you. You really didn't earn it or anything like that. I want a title run where I know that I deserve it and I know I earned my way. Cause I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I got lucky at Rumble in the Jungle. I got lucky by winning another Rumble because of another, for the placement, not only because of a record, but I need one that I feel like I really deserved it. And if I'm only there for one time only, like, how Kofi has won the belt and then he hasn't been pushed for a WWE title run since then. Like I'll be okay with that. So that is the one thing. And when it's over, I might be reaching my end.
Yeah, yeah, I've already done a lot, so to hear that you want to try and get at least one more world title run, I personally believe it'll happen. It's just a matter of when and where. That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, if it takes me to 2K23, 24, 25, 26, 27.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, yeah, I'll be in it for years. But if I feel like if I can't get to that moment, or if I at least feel like I got to that moment, and if I didn't win, and if it's such a huge feud, I think that's where I'll be like, you know what? I did my thing. I made this feud big. I tried to do whatever I could with the title. It is what it is.
It'll be time to hang up the virtual boots.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, sometimes they say that, sometimes you're not a world title go-getter. You're not, you don't belong in that spot. Like, they think that you're more better as a mid-carder. And, for some, that's true, yeah. But I always feel like I can always improve. So.
And it's never meant as an insult or anything like that. It's just that's kind of their limit.
Yeah.
It's their job to go past that limit if they choose to. If they're fine with where they are, that's great. More power, more power to them.
Right.
But if they're hungry and they still want to do much more than just that, and they want to push themselves, and they're willing to like change up almost like maybe just a little bit or everything entirely, that's also a good decision to do.
Yeah.
It's whatever you choose. It's your path. It's how you want to do things.
Oh yes, for sure.
Well, just as we're winding down now. Sorry, I blanked out. I'm gonna edit this part out.
Oh, good.
I just wanted to think of another question quickly. Okay. So as we're winding down now, I have to ask this. You've been a part of a lot of different companies, like when it comes to COH, Universal Wrestling, Mercy Pro, Axis, WTX, etc., etc., etc. You've been a part of a lot of different places. Is there any company that you would want to join or at least make a special appearance on?
Oh man. Holy shit, hold on. Okay. I now this was a good question. I actually wanted this question to happen. Okay. So for a lot of people, right? Like, I'm gonna answer this question. It might get people mad, but I'm not trying to make them mad. You know what I mean?
Right. It's your decision.
Yeah. So
like, this is your question.
In all honesty, I know one of the few places that I have not been a part of at all, and I'm surprised no one tells me. Like, nobody be like, "Why aren't you here? Like, why aren't you trying?" One place I will say that I've not been a part of, out of all places, is Arpro. Have never stepped in that place one time.
Not even a special appearance of any kind.
I think the only appearance, I mean, like, I mean watching wise. I'm not talking about like me being a part of the crowd, like virtually or anything. I think the last time that I've watched an R-Pro show or match, and he sent me this too, and I was like, I'll watch it just to support you and stuff. Matsuda Tanaka and Justin Tyler. Or no, I'm sorry, Ryan Romero. That was during that time.
I mean, to be fair, that is Ryan Romero and Justin Tyler are the same guy, so it's easy to mix it up.
I was like, oh, let me just respect it a little bit. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, it's Ryan Romero, really. But okay, so like, if R-Pro, I mean, it's tough because like, damn, it's really tough. I'm trying like to really answer this question like nicely as I can.
No, you're fine. Like,
by the way,
it's totally understandable, man.
And by the way, no, what I meant by that, I don't have beef for who owns it. We're all, me and Masuda are always cool. I don't know. Maybe it would take some convincing if I ever wanted to do it. All I know is that sometimes I don't have the time, and I don't want to waste people's time. That's the main thing.
You just want to have the right story to go in it.
Well, no, because I'm gonna answer that question with the return one. The R-Pro one, it'll take some convincing, but it doesn't have to do with story or whatever.
So it's not really like you would need a good feud or a good moment or just a good time to do it. It's just you just need to sit down and talk.
Yeah, sit down and talk. And hell, if they're ever interested to do a talk with me, I'm all open ears. I won't shut my ears for anybody. Everybody's always welcome to message me about something. Return wise, this is gonna be a tough one. If I were to return to I feel like I already did it all in COH. I did the best as I could because, and this is not, of course, this is not me having an attitude with them or shooting at them, but when I was doing COH at the time, I felt like it was a job. And no place should ever feel like a job. And I'm not trying to tell them that they expect that every week because I'm pretty sure they don't. Um, and not only that, I knew when I wasn't having fun, I wasn't invested anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to my God, I'm trying to really say this.
You basically, I feel like I could probably kind of explain it. It's probably, I'm guessing it's like you were there, you weren't really feeling like you belonged there anymore.
Yeah.
And you just felt like you were wasting roster space that could go to somebody else that you feel deserves it more.
It's a little bit true at the end. It's a bit more to it, but that's where I'll leave it off. But if I were to return to COH, it'll take a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like we had to talk story, we have to talk conditions and stuff like that. Personally, that's how I feel. Um, they can always message me.
Yeah.
Anybody there that has beef with me, I don't have beef with you. At least not any. With some, it's not anymore because I'm just I can't hold grudges anymore. I just can't. It's just not the way. But other than that, other than that, I say if I were if the return would be COH, we just really would have to talk with conditions and whatever story. And I feel like I just can't do it by myself.
And just to clarify, none of this is being said in a negative light or for anybody at all, right?
Right.
Like it's just from your perspective, it's what you're saying. It's not like you're not trying to bash anybody. It's just all this all coming from you.
Yes.
It's just complete full transparency, essentially.
Right. And of course, if anyone does take it out of proportion, I always tell people message me. I'm not gonna subtweet anymore. It's just not. It's childish to subtweet now. Sometimes, unless if you're preppy. But other than that,
You can't beat the king, so just give
exactly,
up.
exactly. But other than that, no. I'm not gonna subtweet anymore. If you really want to have a word with me, let's have a word. In person. Call me on Discord. Message me on Discord or message me on Twitter. That's all it takes. But that's about it.
Well, just to wrap things up, I'm gonna take something from Chris Van Vliet. He always likes to end his interviews with this, talking about how he wakes up and he says 3 things that he's grateful for today. What are 3 things that you're grateful for today?
That's a really good question. Um, my number one, my number one or two. I have 4 things, but I have one in number one. So I'm for one, I am so grateful for my mother. So grateful. A single mom doing whatever she could to raise her child, to be sure that he's raised with the right people, and making sure not going outside where there's trouble, gangs, and all that. And in that number one of and is nay, because I I'm sorry for the long silence.
Because she would kick your ass if you didn't have her.
I mean, probably, but either way, she will still be on that number one, because out of everybody that I've met in the community, she has always, and I mean always, have my back. And I think sometimes, as I look back, I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry, like, I ain't trying to make this cringe or anything, but
No, you're fine, man.
like, she truly is the one that has my back, and I wouldn't have it either, any other way. And I have to say, I'm so grateful for her throughout these years, and that is something I can always look back at and smile, and you know hope for more in the future. So, number two, you said top three or top four?
Three things that you're grateful for.
I'm great. Four. I mean, not four. Two. I
You know what's good? We'll just do four. Why not?
Okay. So two. My Papa Sanchez. Very grateful. Not a lot of people know this, but now it's been 2 years now, which is crazy. We've rebuilt our relationship. So we've been. I mean, are we distanced a little bit? Yeah, but we're talking now, and I think that's something that I really needed. I really needed my father to be there for me when shit isn't right, or when shit hits the fan or anything like that. But I'm glad that we're good again. Number three. Um, Number three, I have to say I am grateful for Brett, Leah Mercer. Um, he was in the pandemic. He was going through a tough time. I wanted to be there for him, and I'm so glad that I was able to be there for him. And it's how much that I've been there for him. He's been there for me as well, and I cannot name another better friend other than him, because he he's been my go-to every time. If I'm in trouble or anything, he will not judge me for it. He will always be there to talk, and I deeply appreciate him a lot. um and number four, I'm gonna say everybody that's a part of my circle. Of course, you guys know who you are. I appreciate every single one of you guys, honestly, and I'm I thank you. Even though I say a lot of shit, I get mad at stupid shit. You guys are always there, and that's something I have to be very grateful for. Um, I'm gonna. Is it okay if I send one last message before we go off?
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
So, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I won't say for reasons, but I'll tell you what's my mind. We're in well, we're not in July, but end of July. it was a very tough month, mentally, physically. We're in September right now, and I am still struggling, with issues mentally, physically. If you ever, and I mean ever, feel that you are alone, don't ever feel that way. Because I knew for a fact I felt alone on the things that I have issues with. And that's why nowadays I post a clock. I post the clock thing the other day. I reached my 30 days. I just know that the ones that are having trouble and can't get through their day because of a lot of things that's been going on in their mind, a tragedy must have happened. Just know that you are not alone. You can always fight through it. You can always call help. I'm still in that state. And for myself, I'm hoping I get to that road too. Because I'll tell you guys this. I need help for myself as well. So, on September 21st, I will be going right back to therapy once again. And I really hope by then you guys will be seeing a really better me. And hopefully you'll see progress as well. Oh, that's all I wanted to get out.
I definitely agree with all that. Just to kind of add on to that, I've gone through some stuff myself. I've gone through so much shit in the past, and if there's any if you're listening to this right now, if you're going through stuff, if you're going through depression, if you're even thinking about ending it all, please reach out to somebody. Because I know it might seem, I know to some people they might be thinking they don't have anybody. I promise you there's always somebody that is willing to listen. Reach out to somebody. It'll go such a long way. Just reaching out to somebody goes such a long way to help you through whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that from experience. I've gone through stuff before. I've reached out to people. I've gotten therapy. It's been a life changer for me. So it's, take it from people who have gone through this stuff before and have taken steps to try and better their lives. It just messaging somebody goes so far. It helps so much. It might not seem like much, but trust me, it goes such a long way.
Yeah.
I know I keep repeating that. I know I sound like a broken record right now, but it's the God honest truth. But yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome having you on the podcast, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe if we get Bravo 6 all on one podcast, we might be seeing you again.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd be down for that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Zach.
All right. Thank you.